Welcome back to Erin Mix Designs, where today I'm going to show you how to make this cute little 22-pin circular knitting machine Positive P. Really quick, really easy. Let's get going. To make the little Positive P's, you will need a 22-pin circular knitting machine. This one here is the Addi Express Professional by Addi, but you can use any make you like. Some Erin worsted weight yarn. This is Caron Simply Soft in Sage and Chartreuse, as well as a DK Sport Weight that you can use for embroidery. This is polyfill, but you can use any filling of your choice. Darning needle, a pair of scissors, some push pins for holding your work together while you sew, and a little tag. You will see down in the captions I have a link to my email list, where if you sign up, I will send you a pack of 3 puns that I have made for the little Positive P's. Okay, let's get to work. The Positive P is made up of 4 tubes, one long one for the pod of 20 rows, and 3 smaller ones of 5 rows each. I'm going to put the row counts down in the caption for you as well. Now I know a lot of people have difficulties when casting on and knitting your first few rows on the 22 pin, particularly on the Addi Express. I have an entire video dedicated as to why I think this happens and showing what I do to fix it, which I will show you here. Now, after I cast on, I always reset my counter. I know some people do this differently, but that's what I do. Now I'm going to have my darning needle ready, because what will happen is as I start to crank, the yarn is going to be pulled tighter and it will begin to catch on these little pegs. Always happens just in the first couple of rows. There it goes. And I'm just going to lift that up and over the peg. It will snag, it will split the yarn, and if you ignore it, it will carry on throughout all of your work. This one's a little bit tough and doesn't want to come. Usually it's just the first couple of rows in which I need to do this, and then it's good to go. There we go. So this first tube will be 5 rows, and I will make 3 of them. There we go. And now just to do a basic cast off. Whoops. That was close. Almost lost my stitch. If I hadn't, it wouldn't be a big deal. I could get it back, but still frustrating when it does happen. There we go. And now we have our first tube of 5 stitches, 5 rows for our little P. So you can pause the video here. I am going to now fast forward for you, where I'll have all of my P's made up. So you carry on and make 2 more P's of 5 rows each. Okay, now that you have got your P's made, we are going to cast on in our darker green. I'm using the Sage by Caron Simply Soft to make our pod. The pod will be 20 rows. using just a regular basic cast on and a basic cast off. Reset your counter and you'll see it has started to snag again. So I'm just going to lift the yarn up and over that peg. Now you don't need to see me knit this and get this all going or casting off. You've already seen me do that. So you can pause the video here and I'll see you once you've done your 20 rows and you have your pod off the machine. Right, let's get on now with constructing our positive P's. We have our 4 pieces that we've made on the machine. We have our pod, which is 20 rows, and we have our 3 P's, which are 5 rows each. To put the P together, pull it apart. Pull your ends so that they're tight. Now, normally I would say to tie off and secure these ends, but we're going to be using them for stitching the P together, so it's not really necessary to do that. So you can just leave your ends. Just make sure that they're nice and tight. And it's at this point that if you were using safety eyes, you could put them in, and I'll show you where. But as I'm not using safety eyes, I will carry on till the end to do the embroidery. What I want to do is to create a pocket, and I do that by putting my thumb inside, and you get kind of like this little clamshell, and you can maneuver it around so that you don't have bunching up on the smooth side, because this is the side of the P that you will see. Give those ends a bit more of a tie. Right, now if you are using your safety eyes, you'd pop them in now. If you are going to be embroidering along with me, then wait until the end. I said at the beginning that you could use polyfill. Sometimes I use a cotton ball, pardon me, but if you use a cotton ball, just be aware that it's more of a tighter, tightly woven material, so it can be a little bit stiffer for getting your needle through when you're doing the embroidery. It's not impossible and you still can do it, and I've done it, but it is easier to get the needle through the polyfill. The difference is it's easier for sewing up if you're using cotton ball, so it's up to you. Anyway, I'm going to be using the polyfill this time. So get yourself a small amount. You don't need a lot, it's just a little P, and ball it up and pop it inside that pocket, and then decide if you have enough or if you have too much, you need to take some out. The benefit of using the cotton ball is that because it's so tightly woven, you don't get any of these little bits poking out while you're sewing. But again, as I said, the polyfill, it's easier to do the embroidery with. I'm just giving my ends another little tug. Okay, we're going to be using mattress stitch to sew the sides together. Mattress stitch is a perfect technique because it invisibly joins your seams from the outside. So once we're done, you really shouldn't see where your seam is. When doing mattress stitch, you want to make sure that you choose a column of stitches and you stick to that same column the entire way. If you start going over to other columns and picking up the wrong stitch, your work will start to bunch up and it won't look very neat. However, saying that, in this project, your P, the seam, is hidden at the back, so it won't be seen. So I don't want you to worry too much if it's not terribly neat, because you're not going to see it. All right. Now that we're ready to begin our mattress stitch, we are going to find our column of stitches, and I want to find this stitch that's at the top of that column, and I can see it just right here. I'm going to bring my yarn and the needle up and through the center of that stitch. So I want the legs of the stitch to be on either side, and I'm coming through the middle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the bar that is in between the legs. There we go. So you can see here, I hope you can see, we have the legs of the stitch, and this is the bar that is in between. I'm going to pick up that bar, and then I'm going to come back over to the other column that I'm using on the other side, and I'm going to find the bar between the legs of the first stitch on that side. I hope you can see this clearly. If I get too close to my camera, it loses focus. Like it did last time. And this is actually the second time I'm filming this segment. Here we go. There's the bar that comes in between the two legs of the stitch. Now I'll come back over, and this is where it'll get a little bit easier because the stitches aren't tucked underneath with the curve. And then I'm going to pick up the bar of the next stitch. Now some people, when they're mattress stitching, they pick up the bar of 2 stitches. So one bar there and the bar down. And you can, there's nothing wrong with doing that. I just like to go back and forth and pick up one at a time. It takes a little bit longer, yes, but it just makes sure that I'm doing a neater job. Right, I'm going to pick up the next bar, and you are going to go back and forth across the 2 columns, picking up the bar between the legs of each stitch until you've come all the way down. And you'll see I haven't pulled my yarn tight yet. And the reason for that is that if I pull it tight, it will pull these stitches in, and then it becomes more challenging to find the stitch in the bar that I want to pick up. Almost done. There we go. And now I'm going to pull that tail all the way down. And you'll see it brings my sides together. It creates a leg for what appears to be a new column of stitches. And I'm going to bring the yarn now down to meet up with the tail that's on the other side. And I'm just going to come down and up through the knitting. Give another tug. Tie my tails together. And then I'm going to hide my tails inside the work. What does that mean? That means I'm putting both tails onto my darning needle. I'm going to bring the darning needle back in and then out. Now I want to make sure I'm coming out through the back of that pea. Doesn't really matter, you're going to be cutting the tail, but just keep it neater. I think it'll just keep it neater. There we go. And cut that tail. And now the tails are hidden inside the work, and we have a little pea. Right, you don't need to sit and spend your time watching me construct another pea. So what you can do now is you can go ahead, pause the video, make your 3 peas, and I will see you back here where we will get together to embroider the face, and then we'll move on to the pod. Okay, let's get on with embroidering the face now that we have our peas done. Listen, this is my hot tip on embroidering. If it goes wrong and you're not happy with it, just take it apart. Okay, this is now the 4th time I've embroidered these eyes. Not necessarily because I wasn't happy with them, but more to do with the fact that my husband walked past, you could hear him, you could hear drills outside, my phone died, all kinds of recording issues have happened. So let's hope this is the final time. Here we go. So what you want to do is you want to find the nice smooth side of your P. So this is the side where I did my mattress stitch. And so this is the smooth side where I am going to embroider the face. What you're going to do is you're going to take a pin and you are going to find yourself a center row of, or a center column of stitches and mark those off. And then, because we are going to start with the eyes first, you're going to take a pin. I like this look with the eyes set a little bit wider apart. So I'm going to count 1, 2 stitches over and pop a pin in that second stitch to the right of the pin, the right of the center pin, and I am going to now go do the same thing on the left side. So the second stitch over from the center pin. And this is just a guide for you to see where your stitches are going to be. Now, cut yourself some of your yarn you're using for embroidery. Needs to be long enough. We are doing the eyes and the mouth using the same yarn. Right, let's start off. You're going to bring your needle in through the back and you are going to bring it out beside the stitch where you've put your pin. Okay, so that's the stitch I marked there. That is the 1, 2 stitch over. And pull your yarn through, and you want to leave a tail that's long enough because this is where we're going to come out and tie off at the end. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 4 loops around this stitch. I want to go in and out the same spot each time. Go. Do not pull your yarn too tight. I think this is one of the issues with embroidering on knitting, is that if we pull our yarn too tight, it creates a, it pulls in the work. You can see holes, it doesn't look very neat. Now, I want to create a sort of curve shape because I'd like to have a round shape to my eyes. So I'm going to bring this one up and loop it around the top set there, each time coming in and out of the same hole. Otherwise, you get an uneven look to your stitches. Okay, make sure that that loops around. Now, because my phone died, I'm now actually filming on the second day. There's not as much sunshine, so I'm hoping with my other lights everything's coming through well enough. And now this is our 4th loop we're going to do. I'm going to come around and loop around the bottom. Now, instead of coming out over on this side, I'm going to come out over beside the stitch where I'm going to make the second eye. Okay, here we go. I don't want it to go over top. You can if you like. I want it to go around the bottom. Now, if you feel as though your eye isn't as wide as you like, do some more loops. It's up to you. It's your work. Okay, there we go. Now, we're over on this side. I can remove that pin. And I'm going to do the exact same thing over here. I am going to loop around this stitch 4 times. Remembering to go in and out of the same hole each time, the same spot. Now, I'm sorry, I can't bring the P any closer to the camera for you. I tried that in the last filming I did of this embroidery, and I could see that actually it was quite blurry. So I'm hoping when I get to the end of recording this 4th time making the eye that it will it'll be clear. Right. Oops. In the same spot. Out the same spot. Why isn't it letting me? You don't want to split your yarn. There we go. Now, before I do the final loop on this, I'm going to mark out with my pins again where I want the corners of my mouth to be. I'm going to use this center stitch here to be the bottom of my mouth. And I want to put a pin in to mark where the top of my corners are going to be. Pins are great for this. A little uneven. Right. Okay, now I'm going to do that final loop of the eye, and instead of coming out back over here, I'm going to come out in the top corner of my mouth where I've marked out with that pin. Okay, let's pin out. And let's make sure this curves around the bottom of the eye like I like it to do, to give me that, oh, I've split the yarn, that's all right. That round shape. There we go. Okay, and now I'm going to bring my needle and come in at the, what will be the bottom of my mouth. I'll take the pin out. And now, you guessed it, we're going to come out, fiddle around a bit, at that top pin. Have a little pull. You can see it taking form. And now I'm going to go back in the same spot at the bottom, and I'm going to bring my needle out the back of the head, exactly where I came in to meet up with that, with the tail. Okay, let's go back over here and check out how the mouth is doing. Good. Okay, let's neaten this all up here. Now again, if you chose to use safety eyes, you can just do the mouth embroidery. Totally up to you. There we go. Oh, I think that's a sweet little face. Now, how to finish it up. Let's go to the back, and you are going to tie off the tails. Not too tight, because the tighter you do this, you will pull your embroidery at the front. Okay. And then what I want to do is I want to bring this knot back inside the work. So here's a little trick. I think I showed you already. It doesn't matter. Right, remember what I did last time when the tails are a little too short to stay on the darning needle? Is I'm going to put the needle inside. Now I will thread it, pull this through, and then I'm going to pull them through the work, get that knot hidden inside. Again, you don't want to do this too hard or else your embroidery on the front will get pulled. If it does, don't worry about it. We're going to go back to the front anyway and smooth everything up. So there we go. I'll cut that off. Perfect. The knot's gone. And let's go back to the front and just give our eyes a little bit of a tidy up. And our mouth. Okay, let's have a look. That's really great. Perfect. Right, now that we have that embroidery done, we're going to get on with making the pod. Sorry. Bump the camera. Right, you'll see that the pod has two ends that have been pinched in. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. It's really easy. What we're making is a drawstring that wraps around both ends. Pop your tail back on. Form your pod. Make sure your end is pulled nice and tight. Now, if you don't have a long tail like I do to use for your sewing, you could tie off your end here, just like you would do if you're making a hat, and then get yourself another piece of a scrap, dark green or sage, so that you can do the drawstring. But my tail is nice and long, so I am going to use it for my sewing. So what I want to do is I want to bring this thread, this yarn, out about 3 stitches down from the end. Bring it out here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my way. Is that 3? No, that's not 3. That's about 2. Let's come down one more. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my way around the pod. I'm not sewing the pod back and forth together. I'm creating a drawstring that goes all the way around. So what I'm going to do is I am going to go over 2 stitches, going through both layers. I'm going to come up, back down over 2 stitches. Don't worry if it's not perfect. We're just creating a drawstring. Give that a pull, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around again, and this time I'm going to make sure that I'm going in and out of the same spots that I did on my first time around, just to keep it neat. Otherwise it'll just look like you've tied a string all the way around. Don't think it's a very neat finish. There we go. I'm up. I'm going to go back through and out the other side again, and then I'll give that one a nice tug. And you can see we have the cinching of the end of our pod. Now to tie it off, take your needle and bring it back so that you are coming to the inside of the pod. Now this is not going to be seen, this is going to be hidden by your peas. So don't worry if it's not terribly neat, because again, no one's going to see it. What you're going to do is take your yarn and just catch one of the legs of a stitch and bring it partially through, and you can tie it in a knot here. And then bring your tails through the center of the work, because of course this is double layered. So we'll bring our tails here, we'll bring them up and through so that I can cut them off and hide them on the inside. Now you'll see I don't have the second tail on the needle yet, and that's because it's too short. If I had put it on, it would have fallen off while I was trying to put the needle through the work. So now I will put it through. Okay. And bring the tails through here, like that, so I can hide them. And cut the tails. And there we go. So let's just get on with the other side. And we can pinch the pod in. I want to line up so it's not twisting. Okay, again, you're going to bring your yarn, make sure your end's nice and tight, bring it out about 3 stitches away from the end, and you're going to go in and out, all the way around. Try not to split your yarn by going through it. Make sure you're just going in and out of the spaces between the legs. I'm around all the way now. I'm going to come back to the other side. And go in and out at the same spots I did when I went around the first time. Give that a good tug. Nice and tight so it pinches it inwards. Good. I'm going to bring just like last time, I'm going to bring the needle to the inside of the pod, where again, remember, we're not going to see this. So bring it down and out through the legs down here. I'm going to tie myself a knot to secure it. And then hide the tails into the middle of the work. Make sure when you're doing this, you're not accidentally going to the other side, that you've stayed in between both layers, because then you won't see the tails. Okay, cut them off. And there we go. And now I have my pod created. Let's have a look to see how it looks inside there. I want to make sure that all of my stitches are facing the same way, and that my mattress stitch side is at the back on the inside of the pod. Now you can see what's happening. The balls are starting to pop out, and that would be really frustrating when I'm trying to sew. So this is where you can take one of your tails that you cut off before, a nice long one. Here we go. I always encourage you to use your tails as much as you can. Okay, we're going to pop our peas out, and we are going to turn them over, and we're just going to do a quick little stitch together. Okay. Leave a bit of a tail there because we're going to go down one way and back the other, and then we're going to use our tail to tie it off again. Here we go. Now, don't do this too tight. If you do, you're going to cinch it up. It'll start to form a ball. You don't want that. That's my mattress stitch side. So keep it relatively loose. You're just aiming to hold them together, and then you're going to come back through again. So we're making a little chain of peas. There we go. Final one. Great. And then I'm just going to make sure that they are firm but not tight. Okay, that's what they look like from the other side. And I'll just use my tails to tie off here. I think this is good too if you are making these peas not as positive peas but as a play food set. You could keep the peas together this way then, and then you don't have choking hazards and you don't have peas rolling around your house. And if you've got animals like I do, they're not getting ruined because they think they're a play toy for them. Right, now I'm just going to snip off that tail. Good. Okay, our peas are now secure and we can go on just to the final bit of the tutorial. Pop our peas in to the pot. Pull it up and around so that you're happy with how that is. Okay. Make sure your face is how you'd like it to be. Okay, I'm happy with that. So I'm going to take my pins again and I'm just going to put them in to hold the pod in place so that when I do a quick little stitch at the back, it's not going to fall out. Now, again, if you are doing this as play food, you might not want to stitch your peas in place, but I'm making a little positive pea, so I am going to stitch them. Now, we're not stitching them along here. That would look really messy. You know, it's nice that that part of the pod can open. We're going to stitch them along the back here. And you can see you can't even see where those stitches are. It's nice and smooth. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Again, take one of your tails. Oops. My tails are too short. So I need to cut a little bit more. That's odd. They're usually nice and long. Doesn't have to be that long. You know, it's about that. Okay, thread that onto your yarn. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to the back. And I'm going to come in between two legs. And I want to follow, just like we were doing the mattress stitch, I want to follow the same column of stitches along. So I'll find what I think is the middle. I think this is about the middle of the work here. Okay, and I want to go in that stitch through, you can feel it, through your pea and come back out, same column, through the legs of the next stitch. And so what's happening is our yarn is not being pulled over a leg. If we went over a leg, you would see that stitch. I don't know if you can see with this dark yarn. I hope you can. If you go over the leg of the stitch, you can see the yarn. But if you go between the legs, essentially going over the bars, you can't see it. So I'm going back in. I can feel that I've caught my pea. So I'll go through the pea and come back out. Through again the legs of a stitch. And then let's look over here and see what's happened on the other side. See, you can't see it all, but the peas are held in tightly. I'm going to come between the legs again and through the pea and out between the legs, and we'll watch that stitch disappear. Perfect. See? And I'm going to come back and again meet up with that tail. So between the stitch, through my pea, back up here out the stitch, making sure I'm coming between the legs. That's good. Back in, making sure not to cross over my legs. I'm coming through the stitch, through the middle of the stitch between the legs. Here we are. And I'm just going to come now through the final P and aim to bring, oh, that's a bit, there we go. Aim to bring the needle out right beside that tail. Give it a little pull so we don't have bunching at the back. Tie your tails off. And like always, we are going to bring our tails in through the work. I like to stick into the middle of the work, back out. Pull out your tails. Cut them off. Okay, get rid of these pins. We can do some shushing up. Okay, a little pull, tidy up your back. There we go, nice and smooth. And let's look at the front. Just fix up the eyes. There we go. And there's my positive P. And this is where you can take. Now you remember at the beginning I had told you that if you wanted to have a set of little made-up puns, this one says, I'm a little positive P, here to tell you I think you're podtastic. So if you want to have a set of made-up little puns, down in the captions of this video, you will see that I have put a link to my email list where if you sign up, I will send you these puns, as well as every so often, not all the time, I don't have time for it, I'll send you additional puns. I will send you links to new tutorials that I've put out. I will also send you discount codes for my patterns that I sell in my Etsy shop. So things like that. I think it's pretty good. But again, I'm not going to inundate you with emails. Right. You're going to make yours look however you like. I like to have the corner of the tag a little bit curved. Up to you how you want to do it. Maybe you've got some sort of cutting out tool that will create a nice shape for you. All right, this is just what I'm doing. You could also use an I-cord maker or crochet or knit an I-cord. You could put little hands on here and have it holding it, but I quite like how the little tag looks. So right, actually this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take my yarn, fold it in half. There we go. Pop it through the hole I created. There we are. Keep the tails there. Put this through one of the ends of my pod. There we are. Draw that through. Oh, I know what I want to do. Sorry. Draw one through. There we go. And then tie a little bow. And I think that is a very sweet, positive P. I think anyone would love receiving one of these as a gift. What made me decide to create this series is I was in my son's classroom and his teacher, he had a positive potato on his desk, and I thought, isn't that nice? Wouldn't that just be a nice little gift to give someone to put on their desk? Anyway, you'll make your bow look much neater. But there we go. And there is your little positive P. I'm a little positive P, here to tell you I think you're podtastic. I hope you enjoyed that. Look out for my other tutorials where I have a positive carrot coming, a positive pineapple, and a positive lemon, all of which come with their own little sets of puns for you to print out. Right. Hope you enjoyed that. Till next time.